Hi, this is Simon Leung from simonleung.com, and today I begin a new series on a new topic, and it's gonna be pretty controversial. Now, it was never my hope that it would need to come to this point, but there comes a time when some things can no longer go unsaid. Although just like everything else, let's take things one step at a time. You see, over the past several videos, and even starting with the first video shared this year, you may have heard me address comments in passing about potential challenges and how to handle these negative energy, especially as leaders. You know what I'm talking about. Comments from haters, gossipers, and simply from those who don't appreciate you. Whatever la. And every time, I would get questions like, are you referring to real people? Are these situations actually happening? Are you going to give us actual examples of these things so that we can learn from these real situations? Well, the answer to all these questions is yes. Sure, these are real people because these kinds of people exist everywhere. And these are the kinds of people who also make these situations real as well. And these situations, well, they happen all the time. Sometimes time and time again from the same exact people. And if you want examples, no problem. What better way to share examples than with my own? So today, let's talk about something serious. Some may call it a controversy or even a scandal of sorts. For me, I just call it what it is, which I'll get more into later, but first, what is it that I want to share with you today? I'm sure some of you have been hearing or reading some rumors, gossip, and false accusations against me. If you haven't before, you have now. Many who have seen it have asked me what's my reaction to it, and just like how I've been keeping quiet about this online all this while, because that's the mature thing to do. I also haven't been very vocal about it, even if I had been personally asked. Take that as what you will, but I always believe in handling things professionally. Although, I have recently been given the green light to start sharing a few things about this, and even though there are many things that I could be revealing, like who's really behind the post about me, how you should handle it if it happens to you, and how to figure out the truth based on footprints left inside the posts. Luckily for someone, at least for now, this is not what we're going to be talking about today. Of course, I'll also use this as an opportunity to defend myself just a little bit and clear the air on just a few things, which I'm sure you'll agree I have every right to do as long as I stay within the guidelines of the law. So then, in part 1 of this series on how to protect yourself from the web of lies that anyone can simply tell and subsequently spread, we will jump straight to you. And we will let it be a lesson for all of us as we address what to believe, ways to realize if they're real or fake, how to make your own judgment on things like these, whether or not you should choose to support the accusers, if you yourself would condone these kinds of actions, and a huge question, which is also the #1 thing people have been asking me, is this legal? It's not. We'll talk about all of this and a whole lot more, so without further ado, let's do this. Talking behind other people, gossiping about them, stabbing them in the back, spreading rumors, being negative overall. Unfortunately, this has become the norm for society today, and especially with the use of social media and other various online platforms, it's become easier and easier for inappropriate behaviors for those who don't know any better. Anyone who is anyone, the who's who of any industry, including celebrities, famous entrepreneurs, successful people, all have haters. Now, why do people hate? Who knows? Maybe some of them are disgruntled ex-partners, angry ex-employees, dissatisfied friends you had fallen out with. The world is full of unhappy, jealous, and overall bad people. I'm not here to judge, blame, or to accuse. But let's face it, how they handle their personal differences tells a lot about themselves, doesn't it? So yeah, in terms of conducting themselves immaturely, acting unprofessionally, and spreading hateful rumors, people do these things, but it doesn't mean what they say are true. We all know that these kind of actions are unethical, but did you know that they're also illegal? Rewind to catch it if you weren't paying attention. And cross over into name-calling, false accusations, attempts to ruin someone's reputation, damaging their business, making comments that are untrue. Well, that's something else. Like I said, I won't sit here and call it a scandal or controversy, or even as simple as false accusations, I'm not here to play the victim and say that I've been cyberbullied and complain about why life is treating me so unfairly. I'm here to confront the situation straight on and call it what it is. There's nothing special about it at all, but there is a word for it, and I will tell it what it is and call it by its name. It's called defamation, and it's against the law. If you're smart, don't do this. If you're not, go ahead. What exactly is defamation? According to Wikipedia, defamation, calumny, vilification, or traducement is the communication of a false statement that harms the reputation of, depending on the law of the country, an individual, business, product group, government, religion, or nation. Under common law, to constitute defamation, a claim must generally be false and must have been made to someone other than the person defamed. Some common law jurisdictions also distinguish between spoken defamation called slander and defamation in other media such as printed words or images called libel. In some civil law jurisdictions, defamation is treated as a crime. A crime! In case you didn't know, it was a criminal offense. Now you know. In my situation, while I have obviously taken the high road to ignore my defamer for a number of years now, who is still to this day not only keeping up with the illegal activities that I won't go into detail in this video, for legal reasons, because I want to keep my side of it legal. And in case you're wondering, what has happened to me very much fits the bill of online defamation, and after a long time of private planning, I've finally been given the green light to make the first of a series of revelations on my own situation, which can be also used as a life lesson to you should you find yourself in a similar situation, whether as the accuser, the accused, or just someone who is caught in the middle wondering what is the truth. So how do you know who or what to believe? Simply ask yourself these 8 simple questions. Firstly, are the pages and their accusations believable or convincing, or is the content obviously fake? Think about this for a moment. If you yourself have been a victim of a scam, whatever that means, I'll get more into that later. Are you gonna want people to believe you, or are you gonna make a joke out of it, a mockery of the situation, make fun of whomever you might be targeting? Allow me to draw your attention to one of these defamatory sites. As you can see, the defamer makes no effort at all to make these claims seem believable. I mean, seriously, this is clearly the work of someone with vengeance in mind and should not be taken as the truth. I think whoever believes these kinds of sites obviously needs something checked, if you know what I mean. Because, well, I obviously wouldn't make a page about myself like this, and if not me, then who? Obviously someone who has the malice intention to do that kind of harm. So you answer the question, would you believe a person who creates something like this, or are you smart enough to actually tell that the content is fake? And now that we have established that it's fake, this brings us to the next question. All these fake scam sites are created anonymously. Do you know who actually created them? The first step to clearing up your name on lies and scandals illegally pressed upon you is to find out who is behind all of it, right? So do I know who created these sites? Yep, I sure do. And I think anyone associated with this case also knows, because it's very obvious as well. But again, this video is not about that, because we're going to be handling this in our own way, legally. But with that said, even though these sites were created anonymously, the creator actually didn't do a very good job covering its tracks. I won't reveal so much of the found evidence right now, but let's just say that there are other versions of the same kinds of words used in the same tone and style that are not so anonymous. These were all released around the same time as well, which means that the planning wasn't so good on its part, but it is what it is. Now, in terms of the creator of the sites itself, we also need to take a look at how convincing their accusations are. How much work they've actually put into fabricating a believable tale, or do they just do lazy work with the sole intention to cause harm? Let's take a look at the next point you need to evaluate in situations like these. Is this accusation unique with specific examples of the claims, or is it just a copycat page created out of pure spite? I'm glad you asked that question. Let's say that you have evidence of someone who has done something terrible. Are you going to speak up and provide that evidence, or are you simply going to take some content that already exists and reuse it? Let me explain. Again, I'm not here to accuse anyone or to point out who is doing all this, but I want to direct your attention once again to another example of proof that this is all fabricated out of pure spite. For this particular page, you can clearly see that while it looks like a legitimate complaint page, it's actually an exact clone of another page that was written about someone else. I'm not saying that the target of this particular page is the one who wrote it. I'm not saying the same person actually created both pages. I'm not even saying that this page has anything to do with that person. Because again, it's actually illegal to make those kind of accusations. All I'm saying is to figure it out for yourself. I don't know about the original one, but mine is obviously fake because the content is exactly the same. The style of the entire site is exactly the same. Everything is exactly the same, meaning that there is no drop of original proof at all on this page. It's all a big copycat page created with the sole intention to cause malicious harm. Maybe someone doesn't want you to be successful. I don't know. But whatever the case, all I'm saying is to smarten up about what to believe online, which brings us to this. Are the accusations supported, or is it clear that they are just hateful and abusive in nature? I don't know about you, but if I'm gonna go and accuse someone of something, I know I better have evidence to back it up. If someone is being called a liar, what exactly are they lying about? If someone is called a cheater, what exactly are they cheating about? If someone is called a scammer, what exactly are they scamming about? It's becoming too easy for anyone to simply call someone names and attack their reputation without merit. So that's what the lower levels of individuals would resort to. And sure, even without proper evidence, I know some people who sees or hears this would simply believe it. Are you those kind of people? Or are you smarter than that? Because smarter people, well, they don't simply sit around or stand around and discuss the gossip, but rather they look at the evidence right in front of their eyes. You do know what a scam is, right? Scamming means taking someone's money and running, never to be seen again. People who may have only had 1 or 2 years experience in something and calling themselves experts. People who lie about things that are obviously lies and everyone else knows it. And these people, well, they're usually the ones talking trash about other people in an attempt to elevate themselves. Is this the kind of people that you want to support? Because if you do, what does that make you? I'll tell you, scammers won't have 20 years of real-world business experience making money online like I do. Cheaters won't stick around to create over 10,000 successful students from all around the world. Liars won't commit to working with our team the way that we have to build a community of entrepreneurs working on real projects together. By using those terms, they are obviously false with intention to harm, which is illegal defamation. Look at the evidence yourself. Are you going to believe the countless proof that we have of actual successful results? Or are you going to believe the work of a criminal? This is another key to doing the smart thing yourself to figure out the kind of person who is trying to brainwash you with certain false information. Do the platforms that they create these properties on actually support the content? Or are they typically against community guidelines and often taken down? Not every platform does a good job of monitoring their content. I think we know that, but I guarantee any reputable platform would have their own community guidelines. Whether it's Google, YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, Twitter, or whatever other social site or blog, they all have policies against hateful and abusive content, especially against defamation. It would be very easy for me to have these sites about me get taken down. But I decided to hold off on that temporarily for more private reasons that I may or may not disclose later. But just to let you know, even without my interference, these sites also get taken down on their own. So you think about this for just a moment. If the site content is true or ethical or even legal, then why would these platforms take them down? I think you can agree that it's typically not a good idea to believe things that violate whatever policies out there that might exist. Unless, of course, you want to, because, well, that's just the kind of person that you are. In which case, go nuts. All the best to you. But community guidelines aside, because again, not all platforms do a good job managing the content. Let's talk about you for a moment. Would you condone the words, actions, and methods behind this work? It might sound like an obvious question with an obvious answer, But believe me, it is a very legitimate inquiry. You see, it's easy to simply believe things that you see or hear. I get that. Unfortunately, for what society has become, any wild bear can climb on top of a car holding a loudspeaker to chaotically shout out whatever they want, and most people would actually believe it. They won't question it or see the person as being crazy, not even for a moment, even though they clearly are. Instead, they would just take their word for it. How easy is it to say anything that you want with these kinds of methods, right? So why not just go ahead and say anything that you want? Obviously, people who are like this, it speaks a lot about who they are as a person. Having personal issues with one person is one thing, but can you honestly condone the actions of someone who would pull in innocent women and children into this? Because, well, that's what this person actually did. Putting red ink over the faces of my family. For what? To prove a point? Because it doesn't prove anything other than how low someone would be willing to go to boost their own ego. It's not about a scam or a lie or whatever these sites say. It's personal vengeance, all conjured up with, again, the sole intention to make a mockery of the situation. You tell me what kind of person it takes to do these kinds of things. But for you to believe it, to support it, to have your actions impacted as a result of this, what does that make you? Remember, if your response is to believe it or support it or take certain kinds of actions or make any kinds of decisions because of it, well, it also reveals the kind of person that you are, which is obviously not so much better than the perpetrator itself. So are you the same or are you better? Again, I'm not judging, but how you respond says it all. Okay, so the content is clearly unethical, even illegal. For those watching right now who have no idea who is behind all this, and since I'm not revealing it in this video, does the content leave any footprints about who may have created the pages? Well, this isn't detective school, so unfortunately, I won't be able to walk you through all the steps to figure it all out. But to answer your question, it's yes, actually, footprints are all over the place. I won't get into the exact details here right now, but all I can say is, whether you do your own research on who apparently has a vendetta against me, analyze different things like when these things were actually posted and the styles in which they were published, take notes of mentions of any names and links or resources, matching up the words used between publications that are both anonymous as well as self-identified, and other factors which I won't go into right here. I think I've already said too much. I think anyone with 2 brain cells can figure it out already. And if this is the case, what's the next step? As you can tell by now, this is all very illegal. I won't get into all the anonymous sites because they are already interlinked with those that are not so anonymous. But just with the publicly identified post alone, we already know what to do next. You don't need to worry about it. We will take care of it. However, what is even more important for you right now is to leverage on this as a lesson for yourself. Learn from the mistakes of other people and discover how you can be a better person because of this. Because you see, what we've learned today is that regardless of who you are, how successful you might be, or how popular you happen to be with one crowd, there will always be people out there who would hate on you. What these haters do depends on how lucky you are, because it is all dependent on how ethical or how knowledgeable of the law your haters might happen to be. And should you have an unlucky run like me, even after over 20 years of business experience and rarely having issues like this, with the exception of once or twice where the perpetrators finally came to their senses and realized what's at stake, unfortunately, not everyone knows when to stop and often crosses that line. So just like how others can spread lies about you that you have no control over, the same thing applies in this situation. Ask yourself this: can you honestly say that you can believe the dirty work of an abusive hater who is very obviously holding a personal grudge and resorting to childish manners to try and ruin someone's reputation? Or a wholesome community with real and genuine entrepreneurs backed by someone who has had over 20 years of IM experience speaking around the world and teaching people how to do this for over 10 years? If I am anywhere near what this person says I am, then I wouldn't be around anymore. I would have been gone years ago. You are choosing to believe someone who is cyberbullying someone else while calling them a cyberbully. Someone who is the one that's obviously lying and the real definition of scamming, which is to act in dishonesty. And they are calling someone else a liar and a scammer. Don't you find that ironic? This is no different than someone who is 500 pounds overweight trying to sell a weight loss product, or someone who looks like they're 100 years old with wrinkles all over their face and forehead and everything, trying to sell you the secret to eternal youth. The point is, only the unbelievably gullible is going to believe a single word of it. So how vulnerable to lies are you? Well, that can obviously only be answered by yourself, depending on what you choose to believe. Look, it's not hard to figure it out, not at all. These kinds of things can only be done by those who obviously have little experience in business and in life. So would you listen to someone like this with no merits, or listen to follow a true professional with proven results? There comes a time in everyone's life when an important question comes up, and how you answer it at that moment will determine which direction your life is gonna go. We call it a fork in the road. So will you go left, or will you go right? Don't get me wrong, I'm not looking for supporters or anything like that. All I'm saying is you have a decision to make. Choosing the kind of people that you are going to follow will determine the path that you will end up on for the rest of your life. So will it be the righteous side or an unethical and criminal side? The choice is yours. Hope this video has enlightened you in some way, and again, it's only part 1. And for those of you who are either directly or indirectly involved in some way, for legal reasons, and would like a much more in-depth look into this case in detail, I have also created another video that clears up the air, and maybe even calls for your contribution, which I will soon share with you how to apply and qualify for access. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to keep up to date on later parts of this series for all its latest developments, as well as other videos on success, leadership, mindset, online business, internet marketing, or making money online in general, be sure to hit that subscribe button and clicking on the bell notification to get up to speed. And as always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Defamation, calumny, defamation, calumny, vilification or defamation, calumny, vilification, or traducement is Hey, I'm Salili Bakwayaula. If you hadn't before, it's not. It's not. It's not. We'll talk. Rewind if you missed it. Rewind if you're not paying attention. Rewind if you weren't paying attention. What exactly it... Don't do this if you're smart. Don't do this if you're smart. Go ahead if you're not. Don't do this if you're smart. For legal reasons, because I actually want to keep my side. Because again, it's actually illegal to make those kind of... Well, this... And maybe even calls for your... Whatever lah.